Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our June 2022 HMS user meeting. If you didn't get a chance to, please enter your agency name into the chat box so we can take attendance. Today's agenda, we will be discussing the following topics. We will be discussing the Hick and Pitt reports, reasons for denial referrals data collection, the user dashboard, data quality report card, BASH, project-specific data element dashboard, the Spanish CES custom questions, searching for existing clients, duplicate client records, and some updates with knowledge-based articles, a new onboarding toolkits for CSG-funded program staff, the data and performance management meeting agenda, and we have a holiday announcement, and at the very end, we will leave some time for a Q&A. Aaron will get us started with the Hick and Pitt reports.
Hi, everyone. So the Hick and Sheltered Pit data was submitted to HUD in May, and we have updated our Hick and Sheltered Pit reports, and those are now available and posted on our website. We also included the links on the slides for you. And so I wanted to take a couple minutes just to go over some of the data. As a reminder, the Housing Inventory Chart, or HIC, is a count of beds dedicated to serve homeless clients in Orange County. And the Sheltered Point in Time count is a count of clients in emergency shelter or transitional housing projects on the night of the count. And this year, the night of the count was February 21st. Next slide, please. So I pulled a couple of charts out. Again, you can view the whole report if you would like. Well, we have it in the slides. We'll also include the link in the meeting minutes. But for this first chart is looking at the number of beds available for each project type, and includes data for the past 3 years so that you can see trends. So the overall bed count for the 2022 HIC is 8,894 beds. And you can see those beds distributed over the different project types. So for emergency shelter year-round projects, we have been increasing our bed count year over year. For emergency seasonal projects, we've had a decrease, but the original decrease in 2021 was due to COVID capacity restrictions. And then the reason we had 0 beds this year is because the project was not available on the night that the HIC was conducted. So those beds were reported as under development and not current inventory. And then for transitional housing projects, we've had a little bit of a decline over the past 3 years, while rapid rehousing, other permanent housing, and permanent supportive housing have all had increases, which is great since those are permanent locations where clients can be housed. Next slide, please. This next chart is looking at how the different beds are distributed by project type. So this is looking at beds for adults only versus children and adults and children only. Adult only beds are represented in blue, and the children and adults or family beds are represented with orange. So you can see most beds in emergency shelter projects are for adult-only households, while transitional and rapid rehousing projects, the majority of those beds are for families. And then permanent supportive housing and other permanent housing, it's a little closer to center. It's a little more equally distributed by household type. Next slide. This is a quick chart on the special population beds. So this, for a bed to be counted in any of these categories, it means that the project has to be targeting people in these specific subpopulations, in addition to the client being homeless. So you can see the distribution of beds for different subpopulations. We have over 1,000 beds that are targeting veterans, almost 700 beds for chronically homeless, over 500 for domestic violence, and then 55 beds for youth clients. And youth is where everyone in the household is age 24 or under. Next slide. All right, so this is my last chart on the HIC. This is looking at the number of beds that were included on the HIC and what percentage of those are participating in HMIS. And this excludes domestic violence beds because those beds cannot participate in HMIS. So you can see for most of the project types, we're doing really well. Almost all of the beds in emergency shelter and rapid rehousing are participating in HMIS. 100% of the beds in permanent supportive housing or other permanent housing projects are participating in HMIS. And then transitional housing, only half of the beds on the HIC are participating in HMIS. The reason for that is there aren't many funding sources anymore that require transitional housing projects to participate in HMIS. And so as a result, many of those beds are not participating. So next slide, I think I'm going under the pit now. Yes, so now I'm gonna go over some of the pit data. So this again is count of clients that were in either emergency shelter or transitional housing projects. This first chart is looking at the count of clients by household type over the last 3 years. So you can see for households with adults and children, there's been slight decline in clients over the past 3 years. The adult-only households, it's been a little more fluctuating, and that's because in 2021, there was the capacity limitations because of COVID, but we overall have had a decline since 2020. And then for children-only households, the number of clients in shelters is very low. Also, the overall point-in-time count for sheltered clients is 2,661. All right, and that was an increase of 220 since last year. Next slide, please. So this is looking at the disabilities reported for these clients. On the left, you can see the number of clients that reported each type of disability. So this chart on the left, a client can be counted more than once if they reported multiple disabilities. But on the right, it is showing how many disabilities each client has. So most clients only have one disability, but there's a significant minority with 2 or more. 41% of clients that were counted on the sheltered point in time reported at least one disability. So that's a large percentage of clients. Next slide, please. All right, so this is looking at special populations counted in the sheltered point in time over the past 3 years. So you can see there has been an increase in chronically homeless families, although that number is very small overall. For veterans and youth clients, we've stayed fairly consistent over the past 3 years. We've had some fluctuation in the number of chronically homeless individuals. We've also seen an increase in the seniors that have been included on the sheltered point in time. And then domestic violence has also stayed fairly consistent. Looking at the larger point in time report, including the unsheltered clients, the number of seniors and the number of chronically homeless clients has increased since 2019, as well as clients that have reported disabilities. So the trends seem to show that since 2019, we are seeing more vulnerable clients that are remaining homeless. So more chronically homeless, more disabilities, and more seniors. And I think that's it for my point in time and HIC report updates. I'll pause a second to see if there's any questions. I think I see one in the chat, yeah. Do we know what the total number of homeless unsheltered we have in Orange County? We do, let me pull that up really quick. While I'm looking that up, if there's any other questions, you can go ahead and unmute yourself or put it in the chat. So the total point in time count for both sheltered and unsheltered was 5,718. So there was 3,057 unsheltered and then 2,661 that were sheltered. On our website, we also have the summary infographic that was published by the county. So that will go into some unsheltered data as well. They're still working on the full report, but there is a lot of data that's available now for both the sheltered and unsheltered counts. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions, so we can keep going, but we can always come back if anything comes up.
Okay, so next we'll discuss reasons for denial referrals data collection. Erin, could you please share?
Yes, so this topic has been coming up at the last couple of data and performance management meetings. So we wanted to share the latest with the whole group. First, so when a household is matched to a housing opportunity at a housing provider, that housing provider has to review the match and then either accept or deny that referral. And if the referral is denied, you can see on the right side of the screen, there's some questions that the agency has to answer. In particular, I'm going to be talking about denied by type and denied reason. So the denied by type is asking if the denial was because of the client or because of the provider. And the denied reason is a drop down of reasons why the denial occurred. So the first change is that we have added a few reasons to the denied reason drop down. The new reasons include client deceased, meaning the client was, or the household was matched to your housing opportunity, but then they unfortunately died. Voucher expired. So the client had a voucher, but they were not able to get placed in a housing unit before that voucher expired. Or incorrect match to agencies. So a client, for example, should have been matched to Mercy House, but they were matched to American Family Housing. So that third one, incorrect match to agency, should only be used if the client was matched to the incorrect agency, not if they were matched to an incorrect project. So if a client was matched to your agency's rapid rehousing project and they should have been matched to your permanent supportive housing project, or circumstances changed and maybe they're a better fit for your permanent supportive housing project, that would not be considered a denied referral. Instead, that referral can be linked to the correct project. So in that case, what you would do is you would submit a ticket to the help desk and we can fix that for you. The incorrect match should only be used if it's the wrong agency. So we have updated our knowledge base article, Community Queue for Housing Agencies. So this article goes over the entire coordinated entry process for housing providers. At the end, there's a section on denying a referral, and that's where the updates have been made. And I'm going to go over those in a little bit more detail. So next slide. All right, so on the left side of the screen here, you can see a list of the reasons for denial that are included in that dropdown. And whatever reason for denial is chosen should also kind of match the denied by type dropdown, which is a denial by the client or the housing provider. So you can see here, we have included a chart that shows if you select a certain reason for denial, which denied by type option should be selected in at least most cases. So like if the client did not show up or call, or if the client refused services, the denied by type should be the client because the client denied the opportunity. If the reason the client was denied because the project was at full capacity, that would be a housing provider denial. So that's what this chart is kind of showing you. And as I mentioned, that is now included in the KB, so you can reference that as needed. And then on the right side of the screen, there are many clients where the reason for denial was other, and then the user entered more information on the reason for that denial. And so on the left of this chart is listing common reasons that were typed in by the user for why a client was denied a referral. And these reasons should actually be categorized differently. So instead of selecting other for the reason they were denied, you should be selecting one of the other options from the dropdown. So the first is non-compliance with requests for items or information. In that case, the user should be selecting that oh my gosh, my cat is sneezing. If they select non-compliant, or the client has not complied with requests for items or information, the appropriate reason for denial should be that the client had a disagreement with rules. If there was no contact with the client, the reason for denial should be the client did not show up or call. If the client declines the match, the reason for denial should be the client refused services. If the housing opportunity is no longer available, it should be no, or full capacity, no availability. And if the client is ineligible, the reason for denial should be lack of eligibility. So we're hoping that this guidance will help with your data entry and make it a little more accurate in the future, so that when we're reporting on this information, we have complete information on these reasons for denial. I think that's all I have. So I'll take a minute and see if there's any questions. I'm not seeing any questions, so we can keep going, Elizabeth.
Okay. So next, Dinah, could you please share a little bit details of the user dashboard?
It looks like we got a question in the chat. I don't know if you want to address that really quickly, Erin.
Oh, yes. If a client is ineligible ineligible due to lack of documentation. Would the reason for denial fall on the client? So if the client didn't provide documentation, then yes, that would fall under the client or the disagreement with rules, and the denied by type would be client. If that's the reason that they're ineligible. If they're ineligible for other reasons, then it would be the housing provider. But if it's just because they didn't provide that documentation, then yes, it's on the client side, and it should be disagreement with rules. All right, I don't see any other questions.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to be going over a new dashboard that we've created for you. It's called the Data Entered by User dashboard. This dashboard was created to give you a bit more clarity into who has entered data for your agency during a reporting period that was selected. During our last data meeting, we had a couple of different dashboards that were presented, and we had a lot of positive feedback. So this is the first dashboard from that meeting. The dashboard contains 6 sections: enrollments, services, assessments, annual assessments, annual and status assessments, files, and exits. The dashboard can be found under Reports, Data Analysis, Orange County Clarity System Reports, User Management, and finally, Data Entered by User. The next few slides are visualizations you'll see when you run this report. The slides were created from live data, but all of the identifying information was removed. So as you can see from our first slide, there are visualizations that are on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side are the actual details regarding the clients who created or entered the data into HMIS. So on the left-hand side, really quick, you'll see that there's kind of a lot of blank information, and as I said, the identifying information was removed. So each bar represents a different user in your agency. And so when you run this report, you'll see different usernames on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, as I said, there'll be client identifying information, which user entered the information, and then also the home agency that the report is being run against. Next slide, please. And again here, on the assessments, I wanted to go ahead and point out there's 2 different colors here. So these represent 2 different types of assessments. Some agencies have several assessments for various programs, so it will differentiate between 2 assessments that you may be using at your agency. And again, the bar represents different users. So for under annual and status assessment updates, you'll see the 2 different colors, and each of those bars represents a user. Next slide, please. And again, here we have files and exits. And again, we'll have all of this information in details. All of that information will be visible to you. And then on the visualization side on the left, each bar is represented by a user. Next slide, please. And finally, you can export the dashboard as a CSV file. When you do the export, you'll see that there are 2 different files for each visualization. For example, there's a services details, and a regular services CSV file. The services CSV file, for example, will have the count of how many services were provided by each user in your agency. And then the services details will have the information such as client identifying information and the date of the services and things like that. So we hope that you find this dashboard very useful and informational. I know that a lot of AAs during our data meeting expressed an interest in this so that you can get a better grasp of what's going on a monthly, weekly basis regarding your users and where things are being provided within your agency.
Thank you, Dinah. We do have a question. Could you walk us through the location of the data dashboard in HMS? So let's review the path real quick, and then I'll stop sharing and then switch to the site. So the pathway is listed on this slide. You're going to go to Reports, Data Analysis, and then open the Orange County Clarity System report, and then scroll all the way down to User Management. So just give me a second and I'll get that pathway to share. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to put that in the chat or unmute yourself regarding the user dashboard.
I had a quick question. I was trying to do the exits yesterday using the dashboard, and I was just wondering that count, it's not just successful exits, it's all the exits that the case manager completed, correct?
Yes, at this point, this is more informational and giving you counts regarding a particular user in your agency.
Okay, thank you.
So when you're on the site, you'll be clicking the launching pad and then clicking on reports, the reports icon. And once you get to the report icon, you'll see the options at the top. You can go then you'll go to data analysis, and when you expand the Orange County Clarity System reports, this is where the reports will be located. So you'll just go down each section to find the user management section, which is the very last section in this folder. And then I'm going to pause to see if we have any other questions.
And just to also provide an update, there were other dashboards that we talked about during the last data meeting as well. So we will be rolling out some of those also. We're just doing it one or two at a time. So this is just the one we focus on for this month.
Okay, thank you for your questions. So we'll move on to the next section now. And then Linda, could you share regarding the data quality report card?
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So Q1 of this year's data quality report cards have been published. The report cards go over three things. The first one being the data completeness. Second is data accuracy. And last but not least, we have data timeliness. So data completeness refers to the degree to which all required data is known, valid, and documented in HMIS. A data element is considered to have a valid response when it is in accordance with HUD data standards, and it is different than client doesn't know, client refuse, and data not collected. Data accuracy refers to the degree to which the data entered into HMIS is represented as real information on the client that is being served in the system. And then last but not least, we have data timeliness. This refers to the degree in which the data is collected in HMIS and it is available when needed. So the data timeliness tab of the DQ dashboard shows the average number of days taken to enter for project starts, project exit, and services provided. And you can find your report cards for your agency linked here on the screen, and it will also be included in the meeting minutes as well.
Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, so we'll move forward.
Thank you.
We are introducing a new dashboard and details report for federal funding source VASH. This dashboard is specifically for additional data that is needed to be collected for this funding source. Like the project-specific data element and other data quality dashboards we have introduced in the past, you will see a separate report for both entry screen and exit screen responses. The purpose of these reports is to help you review your data and data completeness and quality and find the responses of the elements that are not considered valid. Let's take a closer look at the dashboard. You'll see on the screen that there are multiple data elements. The chart shows whether a response is valid in green, which means the response was filled in, or missing in purple, which means the data is not collected or it is blank. For responses in yellow, you'll see client doesn't know or client refuse. Based on the information you see, you will be able to update any data completeness error that your agency may have. You will also see at the very top of each chart, exclusion or special requirements for each chart. You can see here, it will let you know this is required for head of households and adults. And there will also be a detailed report if you're interested in reviewing this data on a client level. And I just want to pause to see if we have any questions regarding the VASH data completeness dashboard. And just a note, the dashboard will also be listed on Clarity, the same path that you find the user dashboard. So it'll be under data analysis in the Orange County Clarity System folder. Okay, so we'll move on to the next topic. Armando?
Hi, good morning, everybody. We wanted to let everybody...
Armando, sorry, really quick, a question came in about the dashboard, Elizabeth.
Sure.
The question is the dashboard live? Yes. Yes, the dashboard should be available on Clarity under the folder under data analysis in Orange County Clarity System.
Hi, good morning, everybody. We also wanted to let everybody know that on our website, under the COC ESG section of our forms and documents, we've recently added a new Spanish translated form. This is a Spanish translated version of the OC Custom ICES enrollment questions form. So we're aware that some agencies have been requiring this form for some clients needing it in Spanish, and this has recently been added to our other translated documents. On the screen, you can see a screenshot of the section where you can find this document under the current living situation assessment.
Okay, thank you, Armando. The HMS team has been receiving a handful of merge tickets and noticed the second profile has been recently created. This could be an error due to not searching up existing clients. So we would like to remind all users of this step. This video is created to support new users and provide a refresher for current staff.
This demonstration is to show how to use the client search feature using Clarity. Clarity holds every client record from every HMIS participating agency in Orange County. So as to maintain the highest quality of data and to minimize the amount of duplicate client information, HMIS users are encouraged to search for a client record to see if one already exists before using the Add Client button on the screen to create a new client profile. To get started, you may click on the search icon at the very top bar. There are multiple ways to search to see if a client record already exists. You can search for a client by the first two initials of their first and the first two initials of their last name, such as in the example on the screen. Marge Simpson is found by using the first two initials MA and the last two initials SI to look for the client. The auto suggest window can also suggest clients that you may be looking for by using the client's date of birth if you have the information. In the example on the screen, the DOB 1225-1969 will yield the client Bugs Bunny. You can also search for a client by the last four digits of their social security number. In the example on the screen, the last four digits 1235 will show the clients that have matching information. If you have handy the client's 9-digit unique identifier, you can also use this information to search to see if a client exists. Using the identifier and pressing enter in the search bar will bypass the auto suggest feature and take you directly to the client's homepage.
So we'll just take a couple seconds in case anyone has questions.
I see a question in the chat. Is there a minimum requirement to be considered document ready before a client can be matched to an opportunity? So the client should be document ready before they're added to the community queue. And the document ready is just kind of the basics for a client to be matched. So it's if they meet the chronically homeless definition and have documentation for permanent supportive housing, or for rapid rehousing, it's the verification of homelessness. And so that has to be completed before the client can be added to the queue. Agencies have more specific eligibility requirements, and they can vary widely between agencies. So they will have additional documentation that they require that is not collected until the client is matched. And Aubrey put in the chat, in order to be on the community queue, they need to have a verification of homelessness, literal or at risk. We do prioritize those with both chronic and disability verification.
Okay, thank you, Erin. To continue our discussion about duplicate records, we will discuss how to resolve and avoid creating multiple profiles. When you encounter these duplicate records, please have your agency admin submit a ticket to the HMS help desk. Please also indicate in the ticket which profile is the primary record so that we can merge the secondary record into it. And our team also has a few tips to share with you all. We recommend running the duplicate record client report on a regular basis so that you can identify these duplicate records. And you can see to the right-hand side where you can find this report. It will be under the report library within the data quality report folder. Another tip is once you're running this report and notice that your team has a few duplicate profiles, it is a great opportunity to provide a refresher training to all users at your agencies to first search up existing clients before adding a new profile. And then I'll take a pause in case anyone has questions about duplicate client records. Okay, so we'll move on. As mentioned in our previous user meeting, the HMS team will be rolling out short training videos to include in in our knowledge base articles, just like the one we just saw about searching up existing clients. We also made updates to 2 additional knowledge base articles, approximate date homeless started and residence prior to entry. The knowledge base articles will provide tips and guidance per HUD data standards, how to collect these data elements, as well as identifying who the data is collected about and which screen in Clarity you will see these data elements. We will be linking these articles in our meeting minutes so that you can take a deeper dive. Please feel free to let us know if there are any topics you would like the team to create a short training video for by submitting a support ticket. And we have our questions. Do you have any cheat sheets for user instructions for searching clients? So we do have knowledge base articles that we will link in our meeting minutes, and we will share that with you through our meeting minutes to the KBs. Okay, thank you. I don't think we have any more questions, so we'll move forward. Linda?
So HUD has recently released the new onboarding toolkits for ESG funded program staff. This is in response to the rise in housing demand due to COVID for the past couple of years. These toolkits are critical in targeting prevention efforts, including positioning existing staff, adding new staff, and or rapidly refilling vacated positions. Can you go on to the next slide, please? So who should use the onboarding toolkits? This is for staff members who are directly working with individuals that are experiencing homelessness. The toolkits cover a wide range of topics that include strength-based strategies for client engagement, trauma-informed care, housing navigation, self-care, time management, etc. So these are important topics for staff members who are working directly with individuals that are experiencing homelessness. And then we also, it's also good for individuals with fiscal responsibilities. This includes grant administrators, program directors, rapid rehousing case managers. All of these roles play an important part in meeting the fiscal requirements. So it provides information to help staff in each of these roles to manage public funds while meeting the needs of each client. And if you want to click on the link, just to give everyone a preview of what they would be looking at if they were to go onto the site. So each onboarding toolkit provides a series of informational videos and resources to train new or transitioning staff. And it is accompanied by a short quiz at the end of each lesson. And that is it for me on the toolkits.
Okay, thank you, Linda. We'll give it a couple of seconds in case anyone has questions. Okay, we'll move on to the next section now. Jonathan?
Hello, the Data Performance and Management Committee meeting will take place on June 9th. We'll be discussing racial inequity dashboard and the transitional housing PPR. On July 4th, we will be closed in observance of Independence Day, and we will be back the office to assist you Tuesday, July 5th.
And then we have a question just to confirm, are the onboarding toolkits currently available on the website, or is that upcoming? It is available on the website, and we will also, it is posted on our website, but it's also available on the HUD website. So we'll send a link in our meeting minutes for that. Yes, we have a questions about the data management meeting, so I'll go back to that slide. Our data and performance committee meeting is every second Thursday, so we'll also be sending a link for this meeting. Hope to see some of you guys join us for that meeting. And then we have some time for questions if you guys want to unmute yourself or add it to the chat. If you guys give me a second, I'll click on the link that Linda was sharing so we can see the site. So this is the toolkit that Linda was discussing. This link will be provided in the meeting minutes. So this is what the page looks like once you click that link. So there will be topics that you guys can click through and read. And there's also training and other information. So I'm not seeing any questions in our chat. I just want to say thank you everyone for joining us today. Please have a great day.